Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's you can't be doing any better than this, right? We have had our first playoff win in 32 years. I'm living love. I'm living life. It's been fantastic. How about you?
Well, I was thinking along very similar lines, like this might be the best moment for Michigan, the state of Michigan football, since I've been alive. Wolverines won a national title. Lions got their first playoff win in 32 years. It feels nice to be on top. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, for sure.
do want to give a shout out. We have a 91st subscriber, I believe.
Sounds about right.
I know him as Brandon from Chili's. He was a really cool dude. We were watching the Green Bay Dallas game together, and you're not even spelling his name right.
Well, this is a different person. We have 92 subscribers. We got Jonathan Lesher subbed today. So welcome to both Jonathan and who from Chili's?
Brandon from Chili's.
Brandon from Chili's.
Cool guy. Really liked talking to him. Mentioned we had a podcast, and he was instantaneously. He was like, "Tell me what it is. I'll sub right now. I want to talk about Lions." So I'm hoping that he tunes in tonight, but he might be working. Who knows? If he does check in, jump in the chat. We'd love to chat. We'd love to talk to you. So
right on.
So Mike, tell us what we're doing today.
Well, first we got to start with the Jared Goff chant, just like they did in the stadium. So A6 is starting us out right. Who, by the way, I asked him if he wanted to come on as a guest tonight for a little bit, but his voice is still gone because he was at the game and he said it was absurd. So, yeah, I'm a little jealous of A6 over there going to the game. But yeah, so for tonight, let's talk about. Well, obviously, we're going to talk about the game because this was the biggest sporting event in Detroit Lions history in my lifetime. It was enormous. So let's talk about that. But let's do like a little news and notes around the NFL for right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I think
we weren't the only game out there.
Yeah, let's just recap what's going on in the playoffs, right?
Let's do it.
Do you have any non-playoff news? So, got to start with the Texans humiliating the Browns. I mean, it was close through into the third quarter, and then floodgates opened. But the big deal was this Browns defense is approaching like historic defensive numbers as far as like EPA per play, points allowed, stuff like that. That's going to carry them in the playoffs. And the Texans came out and just moved the ball at will up and down the field. Didn't seem like there was many problems. CJ Stroud looks as good as you could possibly have hoped for a quarterback in their rookie year. The guy is already playing at a very high level. Next year, of course, will be like, okay, is there a sophomore slump? If he is going to play at this level next year, you're gonna have to start talking about him as a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
So very surprising. Beat the shit out of the Browns. So
yeah, 45-14, and it was. So this is. I think. Do we both picked the Texans, right? Or was this one of those that I picked the Texans and you picked Cleveland?
I don't remember. I might have picked the Browns. I do think it was at the Browns.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Yeah, I think this was one of the we were kind of on the fence for, because you're like, which Joe Flacco is it going to be? Is it going to be the Flacco over the last 6 weeks where he played really, really well, or was it going to be the Flacco of the last 8 years? And I think we found out which Flacco showed up.
Yeah, 2 pick sixes on back-to-back throws is never gonna. Pump up your case for I'm the new version of whatever.
So they weren't even the only blowout of the wild card weekend.
This game, the Packers and Cowboys, was never as close as this score indicated, and they still lost by 2 scores. I mean, like I mean, when I turned this game on, I went to Chili's where I met Brandon, and this was the game that was on, and it was in the second quarter, and the Packers had just scored to go up 27-0. So I mean, like, the Cowboys fought back and put up 32 in a little over 2.5 quarters. That's pretty good, but not when you're spotting your opponent 27 points. The Packers,
and still not stopping them.
no. I mean, the Packers feel like an extremely confident team that is playing at the highest level right when it matters the most, which is the playoffs. And if I was the Niners, I'd be concerned them coming into Candlestick. It's probably not Candlestick anymore, but like, I'm always going to call these places. I'm not going to call the forum crypto.com forum or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember where they're playing.
So ridiculous. So yeah, so there's some big questions to answer in Dallas. They're over the cap pretty significantly. Dax, I think Dak's deal is up. There could be some major changes. Like, do you fire McCarthy? I think there's some major changes coming for the Cowboys.
Is that where Bill Belichick ends up?
He interviewed in Atlanta. I don't know.
Oh, did he?
He did. I mean,
jeez.
I think he and Arthur Blank have some kind of relationship, but I haven't heard about him. I mean, Dallas lost on Monday.
Sure.
So, I mean, or Sunday.
I'm sure decisions have not yet been made.
Right. So everybody still has to, interview their two diversity hires, and we're still doing the playoffs. And so not everybody's available to be interviewed. And so things are going to be delayed. But yeah, intermediary stuff is certainly happening. The Bills beat the Steelers. I mean, this one was never really close.
Yeah. There was only one close game the entire weekend.
Yeah. If you go back and look, like, the Bills had, I believe, 2 turnovers, which I thought were pretty clearly turnovers, overturned on calls.
Oh, really? I didn't get to watch the game.
Yeah. And if you ever watch the Josh Allen touchdown run, 50-yard touchdown run, watch 39 from Pittsburgh, Minka Fitzpatrick, one of the best safeties in the NFL, just straight up not care. Like, he was sort of getting blocked and could have made an effort to, like, go and tackle Allen, but Allen's like he's like 6'5", 240. I mean, like, he's not gonna. No one
and at full speed.
Yeah, and so you can see Fitzpatrick just being like, whatever. I think there's some real problems in Pittsburgh that maybe are not being known. This is the 3rd or 4th player this year on camera that, like, visibly just quit on plays. Like,
it's rough.
And, like, it just doesn't feel like a Pittsburgh team of old. Mike Tomlin was asked in the press conference after the game, like, you've got a year left on your contract, and then, like, in the middle of the dude's sentence, he just leaves and walks away, doesn't say anything. I mean, like, he's a good coach, and I wish him the best.
He's never had a below 500 season in 17 years.
But that was Bush League. I mean, you can sit there and answer the question, even if it's just the polite, like, well, we're going to look at, we'll deal with that, after exit interviews, and I'll sit down with the GM or whatever, and we'll work it out, see if there's an extension to be had. You don't have to just silently walk away. I thought that was kind of bullshit.
Well, there might have been other, like, previous interactions with that particular reporter as well. I mean, if it's like a Carlos Monarez from the Free Press, I would have done the same thing. So, like, I don't know, who asked him the question, but there might be history there.
Sure.
Dolphins Chiefs, a little bit closer than a couple of those others, but still never really in doubt. They just kind of did their thing, and the Dolphins went, wow, this is way colder than Florida, and they just didn't even show up.
I thought the Dolphins' running game would be the thing that helped them the most in this game, and it didn't. And I've never seen a helmet crack before, but Patrick Mahomes' helmet cracked,
like pieces shattered. Like,
and I've been watching football 30 plus years now, and I've never seen a helmet crack like that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they said it was the 4th coldest NFL football game of all time.
It felt like it was miserable for everybody. And
you still had those people out there that are like shirtless. And I'm just like, it's cool maybe for like one time on camera, get your 15 seconds of shirtless, but you saw those same people all game long, and I'm like, how are you not dead now?
So I mean, like, if I'm like, let's say like I own the facility, right? Like if I own Arrowhead, or if I'm the owners of Kansas City, and like we have people coming to the game, and like it's negative whatever, and like it's a health risk,
Yeah.
I would be like, here's some sweatshirts, go give them the sweatshirts, or kick them out until they can come back clothed, or something like that. Because the last thing I would want is someone to show up to a Chiefs playoff game, be the C in Chiefs, painted on some dude's chest, and then have that guy get frostbite and lose a finger or something.
Yeah.
After the game, because you were so enthusiastic that you decided to paint your chest and go out there nipples for everybody to see.
He's going to lose a nipple is what he's going to lose.
Yeah. And then be like, I'm going to sue the stadium because you guys have, hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, I think that the fandom and expressing your fandom, there's plenty of good ways to do it. Make a sign and then bundle up, or whatever. But like, when it comes to like health, there's no doctor or person in the world that's like, hey, negative 20 below, shirtless, go do it.
Yeah, 3 hours, 3.5 hours even. You should be good.
It's mad.
Crazy. Well, we'll get to the Rams-Lions game. That was the one close one. But first, let's talk about our the game that decided who we're going to play next.
Yeah.
Because the Packers-Cowboys game if Cowboys win, we play them, right? But they didn't. So we got the pick of whoever's going to beat each other in the Eagles-Bucks. And Buccaneers just murdered them. It wasn't even close.
So remember, and this is the thing that I can't get away from, there was a point in this season where the Eagles were 10-1.
I think they were 11-1 at after week 12.
You can go ahead and confirm that, because I think they lost 6 out of their last 7. So maybe they were 11-1. But like their fall from where they stood 2/3 of the way through the season to where they ended up now, losing on the road in Tampa Bay,
Like, holy shit,
is an unbelievable drop. And like, it's got to be one of the largest like drop-offs in football in recent memory. It's just, what happened to their team was just, I don't even know what it was. Maybe it was changing Patricia from Desai to Patricia, and then that was all of a sudden like terrible. But
I mean, I saw him destroy the Lions, so why not? It's pretty easy because it's right about the time he started making the defensive calls. What's up, Dr. D? Hatters?
We got to stop with this, man. The trolling is just too much. Hey, Dr. Detroit, I got a question for you. I'm on Twitter, or I'm sorry, X. I'll never call it X. And I've been seeing a Dr. Detroit show up in my feed. I was wondering if you have recently joined Twitter, because if it's you, I'm going to follow you. And if it's not you, I'm not going to. Does it make sense? So let me know if you've recently joined, and under is it like Mr. McFootball or Mr. Mac Football or something like that tag? Let me know, buddy. Oh, people copy your name? Okay, no follow then. Good, I'm glad we got that. Congrats on the
We want the one and only.
Yeah, I'm not going to follow some copycat bullshit. Oh, your Facebook friends? So, okay, I got you. He's going to get it. Best we can hope for is 45 a year. Ugh. God, I hope not. So
maybe with a couple void years, or I don't know. We'll come to that here in a bit.
Hey, Rumble's in the
chat. Rumble. Yeah. So Baker Mayfield was good Baker. Much like Flacco, could be good Flacco or bad Flacco. The good Baker came out. He played really well. And the Eagles decided to not play at all. It was, I mean, I know some Eagles fans, so hopefully they aren't watching when I say this. They were horrendous. It was embarrassing. I felt bad for Eagles fans. Only the ones I know because they're cool, but most of the Eagles fans suck. But yeah, it was not even close. Brutal.
Well, I mean, no one is going to show the Eagles any sympathy. I mean, their fan base is
a lot like the Cowboys.
Toxic, yeah, very toxic fan base. Like they would describe themselves as passionate, I think.
Yes. Don't all toxic people do that.
Yeah, they pretty bad. So shall we speak of the game, Michael?
We might as well. Let's talk round 1, Detroit 24, Rams 23. I'll stop sharing this for right now so you can see our lovely faces. Yeah, so unbeknownst to Drew, so this weekend I did like 14 hours. I'm taking a couple college classes. I did like 14 hours of homework Saturday and Sunday. And on Sunday, I couldn't concentrate. And I'm like, I need to do something Lions related. So I put out a video, like a preview video. And I talked about the reasons why we could win, the reasons why the Rams could win, and then kind of the keys to the game. And the keys to the game that I said, it really comes down to both teams have the same ones. Number 1, get an early lead. We are not made to come from behind. We're made to play with the lead. So we need to get the early lead. If the Rams want to win, they need to get the early lead to kind of shake up and mess up what we're trying to do. Number 2, execution is going to be critical. Mistakes are going to be what's going to cost a team a game. So we need to, both teams need to execute basically perfectly. And then both teams need to get pressure on the quarterback. Goff historically has not done particularly well under pressure. So that's what the Rams needed to do. Stafford, he's not immune either, right? He'll, if you get some pressure on him, he doesn't crack in the same ways as Goff does, but sometimes if you can get him to throw the ball early, throw the ball before, maybe he can see if someone's going to eventually be open, that extra half a second or a second early, he can, potentially throw a pick or whatever. And honestly, like Hutch did that. The cup was open down the left for it would have been like a 50, 60 yard gain. But Hutch got there, pressured him, and he ended up sailing it over Cup's head because he just didn't have the time. Like, those are the things that we need to do. And we got the early lead, and we never relinquished it. We didn't make mistakes that cost us. I mean, Goff had his little chest pass thing that scared the shit out of me. We recovered the fumble thing, whatever that was supposed to be. But, we executed really well. We got pressure on Stafford. I thought we did basically all 3 things that I said we needed to do to win the game, and it was really tight. And I think, to me, it mostly came down to red zone defense. We scored touchdowns; they scored field goals. It was super exciting, and I loved every second of it. I picked the Rams to win 31-30 because I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a shootout, and I thought we would have one more turnover than them. And I have never been so happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I'm happy you were wrong too. We're going to talk about the Matthew Stafford nonsense after we talk about the game.
Yeah.
When we discussed the Rams-Lions matchup last week, and I'm saying this not to toot my own horn. Okay. Yeah. But having watched the game, the things that you brought up that you were concerned about, I was actively looking for when I watched it.
Yeah.
And the only one that I thought was present that mattered over the course of the entire game was Stafford to Nakua, which is just an absolutely elite level connection.
Oh God, yes.
And to be honest, this is the only game of the Rams I watched all year, he's the number 1 option in Stop It Rumble, I would say. He's No.
Stop it. No.
Come come on.
Nakua is going to be the next Cooper Cup. Like the Amon-Ra St. Brown, like he is. I've watched every single game this year. He is the real deal. He is the real deal. Kenny Galladay never had a season like what Puka Nakua had.
Well, so few people actually have. I mean, like, and it feels
literally nobody has, right?
It feels like Nakua is the guy that Stafford just looks for every play. You know, like the Cup got targets, but like every time that like it just felt like it was Stafford to Nakua. Galladay had a really good run in Detroit. Story over.
Yeah, 2.5 good years.
Yeah, but like,
and then got paid by the Giants.
Good job, New York. Kyron Williams. All I thought was that like he has had a great year. He ran for something like 1,200 or 1,400 yards this season.
Yeah.
When no one knew who he was. I mean, good job. I mean, that's an excellent season.
Yeah, he was a second-round pick last year and was hurt a bit of last year.
That's what it was. But like, and he had a couple of plays where like 10 or 15 yards, but like on average, he had 1 or 2 yards on his attempts. So not effective running. I was concerned that we would see what Nakua accomplished Cup do as well. That did not materialize. And then largely he made some plays because he's always going to make some plays. But Aaron Donald was not the kind of like wrecking ball presence that you always fear he will be. Right?
Well, we doubled and tripled him, and you got no help from the other side.
You absolutely
that was a tough.
Like, he is one of those players that can turn a game all by himself. So you have to dedicate multiple players to making up for the impact that he can have. And you're right. And so like Kobe Turner, whomever, they have one. Apparently, I learned this watching the game. They have one of their DNs who like is primarily there to drop into coverage. And I think that's who
Byron York, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And like that's who Laporta beat on his 4th down touchdown catch. So I mean, like, now, and our defense did get some pressure. Now I'm not going to count the sacks because those 2 sacks were as gimme sacks as I've ever seen anyone in the NFL get. So they ended up on Hutch's stat sheet, but like the field literally reached up and tripped Matt on one play. And then it was just like something happened. It was like a low snap and they just covered it. And then Hutch like went in and just touched him or whatever. They're not like Hutch beat his dude, dipped the shoulder and crushed him. But like they had pressure. The play that you mentioned earlier, like you move the quarterback off of his, place where he's
his timing.
Change his timing, change his launch point. All these little things matter. And I think that was the difference.
Yeah.
So.
To your point here, I'll zoom in here. This is from one of the Rams pages because but they were talking about how Kyron Williams was massively underutilized. So he had 13 carries, which was his 2nd lowest all season. 61 yards, his 4th lowest all season. No touchdowns. 4.7 yards a carry was 3rd best. Not bad, but like only 13 carries. His touchdown percentage was top 5 in the NFL, but he only got the ball 2 times. Like they just stopped running when they got in the red zone, and they barely ran him at all. And I think that, when he ran for 80+ yards, they were 7-1, and the only loss was the overtime loss to the Ravens. So, like, you're right. Like they just stopped. Like Kyron wasn't. He wasn't the big problem that I thought we might face. They just decided not to use him, and I don't understand why.
I mean, I guess my opinion on that is that they figured that this game would be a shootout, and what better way to win a shootout than Stafford slinging the ball around, and like he was good at it. He wasn't bad at it. I mean, Stafford outplayed Goff, but it didn't help him. I mean, they didn't win. Right. So, I mean, Goff was, I think, almost perfect through the first half.
Yeah, first 11 passes were all receptions.
So, yeah. So, I mean, so like when Goff is playing like that, or that's the game plan and that's the call that they made. And they weren't like 2-yard screens or something. They were the crossing routes, the hooks, the slants, that kind of stuff that he likes to throw. And they made good yard. I mean, they made good yardage. Josh Reynolds played really well, made up for the absence of like Khalif Raymond. Laporta played, which I didn't think was possible, and like
I didn't think he was going to either.
Looked like Laporta, maybe not as many snaps as you might normally see him play, but like out there when it mattering. Good job, Sam. And they ran the ball effectively when they needed to and converted when they needed to. And won on the margins. And when this team can win on the margins, they are incredibly difficult to defeat.
Yeah. And one of the things I've talked about several times is when your quarterback is at the bottom of your grades, you just can't win consistently. And you really need high-level quarterback play. And that's what we got from Jared Goff.
Yeah.
St. Brown, I mean, I'm not shocked that he was a 90, right? Because he played lights out, but Goff played really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, he played extremely well.
Let's pressure and depth. So under pressure wasn't particularly good, but the thing is, there were only 11 dropbacks out of his 30 that he was actually under pressure. When he was not blitzed, he played really well, kept clean, 94 0.6. That is absurdly high. That is so good. I thought he did really well in the passing concepts. The no play action, we kept him clean. We didn't have to run the play action as much. He stayed in the pocket a little bit more and played really, really well there. Passing depth, the medium ones was the bread and butter. We got behind.
Drives. Yep.
Yeah, he got behind the line in front of the deep secondary and played just lights out. If he plays like this every game, I think we're going to beat the next. I think we're going to beat Tampa Bay. I think we would have beat Philly if they had won. The Niners are going to be really tough. I think Green Bay would be really tough as well. I think we can beat both of them if he keeps playing with these kind of numbers.
Well, let's be real for a second. Like, if you're going to beat a team as well put together as San Francisco, or you're going to beat a team as hot as the Packers seem to be right now, or getting out of the round that you're currently going to have to play in order to go play either of those two guys, Goff needs to play like this. Like, I don't know how much we could see as like taking a step back. I mean, he played like this and it was a 1-point win. Now,
the Rams are really good too. I was really only afraid of the Rams and the Niners. I wasn't afraid of anybody else, but now I'm a little afraid of Green Bay after what they did to Dallas.
So I think the disparity in rosters is the greatest between Detroit and Tampa Bay, as it will be in any of the teams that Detroit could possibly play at the playoffs.
Yeah.
So this is the game where there's a little bit of leeway for Goff. But, like, if you're going to beat elite teams, you have to play at an elite level, and there's no other way about it. Like, you can play perfectly as not making mistakes, not getting penalties, not getting turnovers, doing the right things, but, like, you still have to match your opponent's level of play. And if you get someone who comes out and plays elite, you got to match that elite play. So Jared needs to be here.
Yes,
and
I agree.
We won. We get a chance to do it again next week.
I did not realize Jack Campbell had a 28.7 grade.
On coverage. Oh, no, yeah, overall.
No, overall defensive grade was horrendous. Coverage was really bad. So I don't know if he just played more coverage snaps. 11 coverage snaps, 4 pass rush, 3 run defense. I mean, I'm not sure I ever saw or heard his name called almost the entire game, which is probably why he's down here.
He tackled somebody really well, but like they had gained 15 yards already, and I was like, neat. At least it's not 16, I guess. But like, I just want to give a shout out to Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Like, his contract is up at the end of the year, and like, he is an absolute stud on special teams. Like, he's an all-pro for special teams. He's a first-team all-pro for special teams. And as much as I don't give a shit about the Pro Bowl, I do give a shit about being an all-pro.
Yeah.
So that's night and day as far as I'm concerned. And this dude,
I don't know if I've ever seen a 97.5 grade.
It's up there. It is up there. Now, it's only 11 snaps, right? But like, let's talk about this. You're going to play a team like the Rams, who, what are the Rams good at? Primarily throwing the ball.
Yep.
So you have your first round pick who plays 22 snaps. He's horrific in coverage. Now, maybe that's because he's a rookie and he just needs to learn, go through this uphill battle in order to get the experience necessary to learn from his mistakes and get better at it. But like, Jalen Reeves-Maybin played 11 snaps, 8 of them were coverage snaps, and he scores one of the highest grades that you could possibly receive. Like, I'm assuming that they will re-sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal. But like, the question that I'm going to have when we do like our wrap up the season going into next season show is, do you need to play Reeves-Maybin 10 to 15 snaps on defense every game?
Yes, maybe more.
If you can hit these numbers, and this isn't a fluke.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been this high, but I mean, he's had 10-ish snaps on several games this year where he's been on defense, and he's absolutely lit it up. And like, you might have to consider him. If you're going to play this well, you just can't not be on the field.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like Asics mentions, he's the only guy on defense that want to make a wrap tackle. Everybody else, they'll lower the shoulder and you run into him, and he's just going to like, I'm going to take you down. That's what special teamers do, though, right? You don't get special teamers that just lower the shoulder and just try to knock someone over. You wrap those dudes up. And that doesn't surprise me that his tackling grade is so good, and he's the guy that's out there that's going to wrap people up. Love it.
A couple of weeks ago, we looked at where the Lions ranked as a team tackling, and it wasn't very high. And I have no idea. Maybe it's to avoid being fined. Maybe it's because they want to avoid being penalized. But when I watch, and I watch mostly Lions games, but when I watch defenders tackle, they throw their shoulder at a dude as if somehow their momentum is going to force their opponent to the ground. So if there's one thing that I am looking for the Lions defense to improve upon, she might very well be paying them, Rumble. When next year, when we look at ways to improve this defense, I'm going to be looking at what are the surest tacklers that we can add to this defense in certain spots. Because as much as I love Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on Twitter, because he's hilarious, I am fucking dying for this dude to be like, look at these things.
I got arms. I could wrap people up.
I'm just like, hug that dude to the ground. Hug him straight to the turf. Chauncey, you're already there. You're so fast. You just get there. Now, don't play as if someone cut off your arms. Actually tackle the dude. So Rumble, I have a question for you, dude. Every word that you type out is capitalized. It's not all caps, which to me says that you're going to the effort of individually capitalizing every one of these words. So, like, I'm wondering, is this a keyboard setting, or are you actually going to the time
doing title case
to uppercase every word? Oh my God, he's doing it individually. No. Oh man. Well,
that pinky's got to get tired by the end, right?
That is crazy.
I will say, let me see. Asics had a comment here. Let's not pretend the Rams didn't play an elite game. And that honestly, that's the key to this, right? They played an elite game. Nakua had a 92 grade. Tutu Atwell had a 90. I mean, granted, he only had eight snaps. Yeah. 91 grade. Stafford had an 88.5. Their backup tight end had an almost 80 grade. Ronnie Rivers, their other running back, had a 76. Like, They played outstanding, and our defense came up big. This is the shit that I was afraid of, right? Big grades by big people doing crazy good stuff. And I'm like, is our secondary going to be able to do enough? Are we going to be able to stop them? And we did. We especially in the red zone. Like, they marched right down the field every effing time, but they kicked 3 field goals, and we stepped up when we had to. I was really impressed. I mean, like, these are great numbers. And then when we look at the defense, they had some pretty solid defense too. Nobody like 80s, 90s, but like a lot of those guys that are in the 60s. Byron Young was in the 60s. Aaron Donald was in the mid 60s. This is the lowest I've seen Donald in a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you got 3 guys, knocking around, Kobe Turner should have stepped up. He's the rookie that tied his sack record as a rookie. Good chance. I mean, I'd say it's going to be between him and Jalen Carter as Defensive Rookie of the Year. But like, he just did not step up.
I think Will Anderson's probably going to win it, to be honest.
You think so?
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Here's the thing that I think that the Rams did that was elite, and that was Matt Nakua. That's it. So, like, did they play a good game? Yeah. Did they turn the ball over? I don't think so. I don't remember them turning.
Nobody did. No, the closest thing to a turnover was Goff's chest pass.
All right.
But it wasn't a turnover, so it's all good.
So, like, that is okay. So, like, when we were discussing how we thought the game went, that was my thought, was that the Lions have demonstrated, even with this level of defense, that if an opposing team does one thing that's elite, it's not enough. It's not enough to beat the Detroit Lions. You have to do one thing that's elite plus.
Yeah.
And so the way that I evaluated the game was, where is the other plus thing going to come from? And I couldn't figure out where it could possibly come from, because I just didn't believe that the Rams at this level were going to be able to put on another elite grade. Not when you lose Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner. What is this? Odell Beckham Jr. was on this team last year, right?
Yep,
like you
for half of it,
you lost guys, and so like when that happens, you're putting undue stress on other people to replace that level of production. And if it was that team, if it was the 2023 team that we had played with those other guys on it, it's probably a different story, because that's enough of a difference to make up for 1 point in a game. But this roster wasn't as terrifying, I thought, even though they were playing very well. So, and the Lions got the win at home. And you could give it to the fans for the 1 point win. Like, there was twice when McVay used timeouts, I believe in the second half, due to crowd noise, to avoid a delay of game penalty.
Yeah, that was actually something A6 and I were talking about before the game. I'm like, so, on the pressure side of things, is Goff going to be able to handle the pressure of the expectations, right? The Rams have no pressure. They were expected to win 4 games. They won 10 or 11, 6 seed. They're playing on house money, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, we've got 12 wins. We won our division. We're hosting a home playoff game for the first time in 30 years. We haven't won a playoff game in 32 years. That's a lot of pressure, right? So, like, are we going to be able to handle that? And A6 came back and said, well, don't forget, we're also going to have the crowd on our side. And I'm like, true, but is that going to be a good thing, or is that going to be a bad thing? Is that going to add to that pressure for Goff? Or is that going to be a thing for the like exactly what happened, where they have to waste a timeout? And A6 actually is like, they're going to have to waste timeouts because they can't hear their plays because we're going to be so damn loud. And I'm like, I hope so. And I mean, that crowd did its job, because if they had those couple timeouts, you never know what's going to happen at the end. They couldn't stop the clock after that 2-minute warning timeout, and then that first down. If they have 2 more timeouts, they potentially get another shot at it. And Even if they have 50 seconds left, I'm not betting against Matt Stafford getting down into field goal range. Like, the crowd did its job.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to repeat everything you just said. I was trolling Vikings fans on Twitter.
Oh,
No, no, I'm just kidding. I mean, to kind of wrap this up, I thought Detroit did what Detroit needs to do to win. You played mistake-free football at home. You went out and executed your game plan. St. Brown was elite. Laporta's hurt. Like, and he can. I'll bet that you don't see him on the practice report until Friday. But like, he's going to get some rest. But I mean, the Lions are healthy. They're a healthy roster, and playing pretty well, and they were super confident, and got the win. And it's great. It's great for the city, the front office, the ownership, the fans, everybody who's a fan. It's great that this monkey can get off your back, and the medical staff, according to Rumble, is awesome. So I'm super happy that this narrative is dead and that the Lions got this win, because now we know that this team can win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like, you were confident, and now there's proof of your confidence. So we played Tampa Bay already in Tampa Bay. We won that game by 2 scores. Now they have to come to our place. I'm ready. I think it's.
Yeah. I'm not worried about them.
I'm super thrilled that we're playing Tampa Bay. So.
Yeah, it was a great game. I did my part. My part didn't affect the game near as much as the players, but I had my Lions dress socks on. I had my Lions PJ bottoms on. I had my Lions t-shirt underneath my NFC North champ sweatshirt. I had my Hutch jersey on and my locker room NFC champ. I did my part. I was underneath that blanket I showed you guys last time that my brother got me. So just chilling, watching the game, decked out in all Lions, everything but my underwear. I don't have any Lions underwear. So maybe I have to rectify that for the Super Bowl. But yeah, I did my part, and I just asked them to do theirs, and they came up big. You want to talk about that Tampa Bay game?
You did your part by.
I did my part. I'm not going to be like the MVP, and I didn't do as much as say like St. Brown, but it was a non-zero amount of effort on my part.
I hate that saying. Yeah.
All right, let's talk Tampa Bay.
Here, let's talk about Tampa Bay. The way that Tampa Bay, I think, wins this game is that Baker has to be like the irrational confidence super Baker that's just like, doesn't matter. I'm just going to rip this into that window, and it happens. I think they have to throw the ball because I don't think they're going to be able to run it. And to be honest, I don't think this team is as good as the Los Angeles Rams are in any respect. No. And I think that, I know that when we played them this last time and during the season, we didn't have Montgomery or Gibbs in the game. We have them both now. And so I think the Lions can come out, do what they do, Laporta and St. Brown, move the ball down the field, score, churn up some time with Gibbs and Montgomery, and I would go almost all in on doubling Mike Evans and just being like, yeah, you're 6'5", but I'm going to have Sutton's going to follow you around all day, and I'm going to have Kirby over the top. So let's go.
Yeah, force him to win with like Chris Godwin or David Moore or somebody. Yeah.
Show me that Baker is going to be the quarterback that's going to go to Godwin, the running back out of the backfield all game to continue to move the ball down the field, because I just don't think that's who he is. And I think that you can be more patient as a defense than he is, and he's going to give you a turnover. And whether it's Iffy, whether it's Kirby, I just think that there's somebody out there on the back end that's going to be like, we're going to bait. I mean, you're not going to sit here and convince me that like a DB, almost any DB in the NFL can't bait Baker Mayfield into a throw. So if we get into that position, I think that it's real.
So it's going to be rush 4, right? Rush 4, try to get as much pressure as you can with those 4 guys and just make Baker Mayfield beat you with his arm while 7 guys are sitting back waiting for it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I just don't think. I mean, the Lions have one excellent blitz that seems to get home all the time.
Oh, God, Rumble, like, don't tell him that. It's going to go to his head.
Mike, there's never been a doubt that I've had great takes before and will. So, but thank you, Rumble. I really appreciate that. But like the one thing that seems that has like consistently worked for Detroit, rushing the passer, is you put Hutch on one side, and then you have a safety and a linebacker, and usually it's Anzalone and Iffy running the other gap on the other side, and it's just an overload blitz. Because if you're gonna pay attention to Hutch, someone else has got to beat you, and that's how they figured out how they are going to get 3 or 4 plays on defense a game where you're going to get a free rusher at the quarterback. And if one of those free rushes turns a play from a touchdown into a field goal attempt, you have what you had last week, right here, yep. Right? Because the Lions,
where you take a sack out of field goal position altogether.
Or like even an incomplete pass that's like, now it's 4th and 6, we might as well take the points, kind of a scenario. And like the Lions are going to put the ball in the end zone.
Basic says every time they sub CJ out for Iffy, it's a safety blitz. Iffy played really well, so if that's the case, keep subbing him out.
I have a take on Chauncey Gardner-Johnson that I'm going to save for our what are we going to do next season.
All right, interesting.
So, yeah. So tune in for that one, everybody, because it's going to be crazy. So,
on the defensive side of the ball, who do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' highest graded defensive player was?
Antoine Winfield.
No, he was actually their 20th. He had a 41 grade.
That's crazy. I have no idea. I can't name any of their defensive players.
Kalijah Cansey.
Really? What grade did he
have? He had an 82, 37 total snaps, 28 pass rush, 8 run defense, and 1 coverage. Yeah, he killed it.
Good job. I still don't want to take a 280-pound defensive tackle in the draft.
I just happened to look at that. I'm like, oh, no shit. I would have expected like Shaq Barrett or Antoine Winfield or like Vita Vea, and Barrett was 13, Winfield was 20, and Vita Vea was 9.
Yeah, I mean, like the Lions even did a good job on Micah Parsons, like when they played him. Like at this point, like I just think the O-line, I don't think there is one position that you can attack.
Yeah,
I don't think there's one position that you could attack. Would you rather have an inside linebacker? I don't understand the question. I don't particularly enjoy inside linebackers.
We've got plenty of linebackers. We don't need any more linebackers.
Sewell, Bricked, Parsons. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So, So, I mean, I'm not going to line up my best pass rushers over Penei Sewell. I might line them up over Jonah Jackson. But, like, Jonah Jackson plays in between Eric Decker and Frank Ragnow. So, I mean, like, he's got some... backup, as it were. So, I mean, like, I think that the thing that I would do if I was Aaron Glenn is I would try and pressure Baker early. Because Baker seems like the kind of guy that's like, oh, this isn't going well. Like, that sticks in his head. So I would try, like, first quarter, first possession, 3rd and 7, I would send Iffy and Anzalone on that overload blitz or whatever that they want to run, and just be like, can we get him off his spot? Maybe we get a sack. As long as maybe he just throws the ball away. But like, if we can just get him to be like, hang his head and shake his head back and forth once or twice, like, I think that's the mentality that if you get Baker Mayfield into it, like, okay, the hill that they have to climb up just got that much bigger.
Yeah.
And I would do anything that I could to make the hill bigger for that Buccaneers team. I do think we will win by more than 1 point.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think we will win by more than one score.
Yeah, so that's as close to a score projection that I'm going to try and predict. So
I'll probably think about keys to the game, reasons why we can win, reasons why they can win, and probably do another one of those maybe this next weekend. I'm when it comes to sports, I can be a little my brain. I got nothing.
Blindfold,
Yeah.
blinders on.
No, more. Never mind.
This is
look through why
podcasting.
Oh my gosh!
Watch Mike struggle for words tonight at 7.
Yep, it's rough, but I'll probably do it. I'll write it out so I don't sound like a biased. Yeah, I can be a little biased sometimes.
Eccentric. Yeah, keep the adjectives going, guys. How many different things have we?
None of them are the word that I'm trying to get to. So you guys all suck. Just kidding. Just true.
I do.
Just my memory. Superstitious. I can be a little superstitious. Do the same thing over and over. Next game I'm gonna have the same stuff on. I wear my Lions socks, my PJ bottoms, and all that kind of stuff. So, because damn it, I'm gonna do my part. And if it worked last time, it'll work the next time. Yeah. And if I have to go to the Super Bowl in that same fucking getup, I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so I don't believe in curses and I don't believe in stuff like that. So, but if you do, that's fine.
I don't really, but it's fun.
Sure, there you go. As long as you're having fun with it. So let's talk about having fun with it, Mike. That's a nice segue.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford, I heard, was once the quarterback for the Detroit Lions. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, about a dozen years.
That's what I thought it was. Mike, I seem to recall having watched those years, him being one of the few rays of hope that the Detroit Lions had in that dozen years of him being on the roster. Is that fair to say?
He was, yes, he was very much our ray of hope.
I know that Matthew Stafford won me over as a fan in the Browns game in his rookie year, where he takes an absolute shot and dislocates his shoulder. They call timeout. He has the wherewithal to understand that means that he can return to the game, lies to the coaches, and says that he can throw the ball. He did.
He did.
He was very clearly injured.
Yeah.
They call a play. He throws a pass, I believe, to Calvin. I don't know. No, they didn't have to.
I don't remember.
They throw a pass. They score a touchdown. They beat the Browns. He immediately cradles his shoulder.
Yeah.
And walks off the field. And that's when I knew that this dude was a legitimate pick and the quarterback for the Detroit Lions.
Special.
For the long term. And those teams, most of the teams that he was on were bad teams for various reasons. And the Lions, in my opinion, one of the reasons why I had to put down my fandom for the Lions for a couple of years and just go and get a breath of fresh air was because the organization never supported Matt the way that I thought that he needed to be supported.
I'm going to pause right there. They tried, but they failed. Right? Their GMs were so bad. Well, no. So I think there's a distinction there. Like they were not successfully supporting him. Right? It was all right. Let's get some offensive weapons. Let's draft Eric Ebron. Like they tried what they tried to support, and they just failed miserably at it.
So they failed to support him.
Yes, they failed in their efforts to support him. Some teams don't even try, though.
Yeah, that's how English works. So, as far as I am concerned, they failed to support Matthew Stafford in any meaningful way for a very long time. And I never heard the dude bitch once. I never heard him cast shade or throw blame. Or
he took it all on himself, if anything. Like
he was. And Mike's computer froze. Okay. So And it was him not complaining and not asking to leave for over a decade that really cemented, I respect Matthew Stafford as a football player. Okay, so then ownership changes, front office changes, coaching staff changes. Matt requests a trade. Trade him to the Rams. Rams win a Super Bowl the next year. Worked out for the Rams. You know what team it also worked out for? The Detroit. Lions. Because this team is not where it stands today if we didn't use the resources we received in the Matthew Stafford trade, including Jared Goff, to go out and build this team to the team that won and beat the Rams Sunday night in Detroit for the first time in 30 years. So both teams won the trade, as far as I am concerned. Now, I would love to get a Super Bowl under our belt. I think that would be just great. And that's kind of the standard by which I hold all success in the NFL. But I think it's worked out. Yeah. It's as even a trade as you could possibly hope for in modern sports. So I don't understand where the disrespect for this guy comes from. I understand that he's your opponent and you want to beat your opponent. I don't understand where the disrespect comes from. When someone wants to take revenge and it's a revenge game, someone has to have been wronged in order for vengeance to be on the table. So who got wronged here?
I mean, Goff got a little bit wronged, just the way it happened. Even McVay's like, I should have handled that totally different.
Okay, so here's the things that I think would be like the soothing balm to that super terrible burn that he incurred. He got paid a 9-figure salary and is in a city that loves him, that he's winning in, and has completely revived his career from where it was. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no wronged party here.
Yeah.
Jared Goff is not wronged. He's riding high. How can Jared Goff not be riding high? He walks out the tunnel to a stadium of what? How many people go to Detroit Stadium? 20,000, 30,000?
No, it's like 60-something thousand.
So 60,000 people are chanting his name, including people in our chat. 65,000. I don't think there was standing room only or whatever at the. I mean, I imagine all the seats got sold, but like, he's in a place that loves him.
Yeah,
I might not, but like all of everyone that bought tickets and went to the game sure shit seems to. So like,
and there's a difference between not loving him and not supporting him and wanting him to do good.
Yeah,
right.
It's not like you can respect Matthew Stafford and still root for Jared Goff.
Yes.
I just did it. I'm telling you it's possible.
Yeah.
So like, I don't get it. And like, here's the thing. Like when just a couple minutes ago, I was like, I'm trolling Vikings fans on Twitter. I was trolling Vikings fans because these other fan bases, like we've talked about Philly's fan base and Dallas's fan base, they think the same thing about us. And like, we have an opportunity, and this was one of them, and we didn't take us up on it, where you can just be better than other fan bases, and we didn't take advantage of it. It is not disrespectful for Matthew Stafford to be like, I don't want to go through another rebuild and ask for a trade out of Detroit.
Right.
It's not disrespectful to Jared Goff when everything seems to be working out for him. He may very well get extended. You know, like I think it would be very difficult for Brad and Dan to be like, yeah, we're going to go with Hendon Hooker this year. Or like, we decided to trade Goff during the draft for picks or whatever it is. Like, I think that would be very difficult to sell to a fan base that has been bereft of winning for so long.
Yeah.
You know, like, do I want to see it happen? No. Do I think it's probably going to happen? Yeah.
So, jersey ban. Are you? What was your take on it? I thought it was dumb.
That was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't from the Lions. It was from some stupid fan group or whatever on Facebook or podcast or some nonsense.
The car dealership guy.
There was a car dealership guy too.
I thought so.
Oh, so there was an insurance agent that was going to do a jersey swap. Like, hey, we'll take your Stafford jerseys and we will. So I will say I have no problems with that. Like, I will give you a current Lions jersey for you to root current people. In his, he was going to take the Stafford jerseys and take them to LA and donate them to homeless shelters. I had no problems with that. It's quirky, it's interesting, it gets people, with current jerseys and a donation to a homeless shelter. Cool. Like I was cool with that. It was the bar, and I'm not even going to say the name of the bar because I don't want to give it any press. It's like, if you come in here with a Stafford jersey, you don't get served. And I'm just like, that's douchey, right? Like, I don't understand that. Rams jersey, sure, go for it. They're the bad, but like, if it's a Lions jersey, it's all about the name on the logo on the front, not the name on the back. So I don't care if you go to the stadium with a Stafford jersey on, as long as it's a Lions one, right? I just want you repping the Lions, and that's what people didn't get. So that drove me nuts. I thought that it was, and honestly, in a lot of the Rams Facebook groups and stuff like that, man, they were like, I used to really, respect the Lions fan base, but this is garbage. Like, the way that they're treating him with his jersey ban is garbage, and they're as bad as, and they listed the Niners because they hate them more than anybody. Sure. But they're like, oh, they're as bad as the Winers fan base. And I'm just like, I swear to God, it's not all of us. There's a couple loud a-holes out there that are doing this kind of stuff. But as a general fan base, we respect him for what he did. We respect him for the way he left. Like, he could have just up and quit. Like, I don't understand why it's okay for Barry and Calvin to just up and quit and do nothing, and they're still beloved. But, like, he's like, I'd like to go someplace else. Will you trade me? You can get assets. Win-win. And now we're pissed at him, but, like, Barry and Calvin are cool. I'm like, I don't understand that. So they were not too happy with the way that we treated Stafford. And to be honest, I think it's just a very loud minority, and it was it's unfortunate.
They booed him at the stadium. Like,
you know what? I will say, like, I mean, I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have just clapped, but I wouldn't have, like, yelled or whatever. You're the opposing player in our stadium at playoff time. Boo! I don't care if they boo him. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's all the other stuff, like ignoring the 12 years of what he did, ignoring what he did for the city, trashing him outside of the game. In the stadium, dude, we're all fans, right? I don't know. A6, did you boo? Yeah, so the Stafford booing is the most over-exaggerated thing ever. Like, I don't think I would have booed just because he's my favorite football player of all time. But, like, I don't mind it. Like, you're in the stadium, we're being fans, that's the thing. It's the outside of the stadium thing that really kind of pissed me off. I thought we were not a particularly classy fan base for those loud minority of people that were doing stupid things.
So
pre-game warm-ups, and anytime a Rams player ran out of the tunnel, there were boos. And he was one of those guys. Yeah.
As a Michigan fan, I absolutely cannot stand Notre Dame or Ohio State. I just absolutely hate their guts. I don't boo them either. Like,
you wouldn't boo them at if you were at the stadium?
No.
Oh, well.
I just don't do it. It's one thing. So here's what's always gotten under my skin the most as a competitor. Like, it's not when someone beats me by a narrow margin and then, like, lets me know about it. That is just, like, that provokes anger, and that pretty quickly goes away. But, like, when someone beats me handedly and, like, doesn't even go to the effort to do that I'm like, I don't warrant that for you.
Yeah.
You don't affect me enough to go and do this. And that's what I would love our fan base to be. I would love our fan base to be like, we don't need, I mean, you can yell so they have to call a timeout or whatever during the game. That's just actively, I think, helping the team. But, like, to just be disrespectful for being disrespectful's sake, that I don't agree with, because there's too much of that in sports, and there's too much of the narrative that they don't respect me, so therefore I'm going to hype myself up in order to play this game. Don't give it to them. Don't give them.
I don't think booing is disrespectful.
Really?
I don't feel in stadium booing is disrespectful.
I absolutely think it is.
I mean, I don't think so. I think it's gamesmanship. You know, it's like talking trash on the field. Is it being disrespectful when, you know, Kirby knocks a pass down and he you know, looks back at a guy, you will never get a pass caught on me. Like, that's not disrespectful. It's just gamesmanship. It's fun. Like I said, I don't mind the in-field, in-stadium stuff like that. It happens all the time. You have to expect it, and it's just a fun thing, right? Like, I booed so many so I booed the Blackhawks. I booed the Ranger. Like, I go to a lot of Red Wings games, or I used to back when we had our dynasty. But like, I booed many a team. I've never booed an individual person, but like outside of that, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, they're all inherently disrespectful acts. I mean, like, trash talking, booing, that's disrespect. And here's the reason why I think it's weak, is that you do it to try and get into the head of your opponent because you need an advantage that isn't a physical one or that is in actively playing the game. Like, if you just knew you were better and you were better, you wouldn't need to trash talk because you would just go out there and prove it with your play. And like, when I played basketball, which is what I played in high school, and everyone trash talked me, I just went at them super hard, and they almost always fold. Because that's who they are. Because if you don't let them get in your head, all the effort that they're going to trash talk is of no good whatsoever. What's better is if they actually go out and play really well. And that's the point. Like,
but when you can actually do that, it also helps. If you do get in their head, right?
Anybody on a football field and been like, oh, the trash talking is really getting to this guy.
Yeah, I mean,
never something that you see. So, and it's you're actively insulting your opponent by like flexing on them and like indicating that they're either bad or can't be successful against you. Just don't do that. Like, Barry Sanders, a former Detroit Lion, is a class act and is considered one of the greatest class acts to ever play football because he didn't do any of that shit. Like,
as a player, he didn't talk trash or anything.
Player,
he'd score a touchdown and hand the ball to the ref.
And you know what? He's one of the greatest running backs in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
Is it because he did those things? Maybe not. But he also didn't flex on everybody. Or, like, the thing that I can't stand is, listen, I saw like Dallas players, like, when they got a first down, get up and signal first down. Shut the fuck up, dude. Like, not everybody.
I saw Lions players do that too.
It's ridiculous. Like, you don't need to highlight every time that you catch a first down or any pass. Just get up and go back and play. It's so
you got it's an emotional game. I have no problems with doing that kind of, the problems that I have with that kind of stuff is you're down by 3 touchdowns and you catch an 11-yard pass when it was, 3rd and 10 and you signal. I'm like, all right, scoreboard, right? But like in a game like this, you're pumping yourself up, you're pumping your team up. I have no problems. I have no problems with that. And I don't mind the booing. I don't think it's disrespectful. I think it's just a thing. You should go to a Western Michigan hockey game. Have you ever been to a Western game?
Yeah.
Okay. So like the students, and maybe it's different because it's college, but like the student section gets loud, it gets crazy. If someone scores on the opposition, there is a series of chants that they do at the goalie that gave up the goal. It's all your fault. Civ, civ, civ. That kind of stuff. Like, it's kind of, it's fun. Like, it's a sporting event. It's entertainment. So, like, does that bother the goalie? Probably not the first time, but maybe after the 3rd time. And, maybe that does get in their head. And if that gives your team an opportunity to take advantage of that, it's just like a loud crowd. It's a thing that the crowd is doing to help either pump up your team or provide some sort of advantage, however little it might be, to do it. I just take offense to the outside of the field stuff, trashing him off the field, trashing Kelly. I mean, she's not allowed to speak. She's not allowed to have a podcast and talk about. I don't know. Just, all that stuff is nonsense. In the stadium, knock yourself out. Boo, yell, holler. Be respectful to each other. The other fans don't like get in other fans' faces and like start fights. And we're not Eagles fans here, right? So
you get close every time you flex on somebody. So I mean, like, I will always view trash talk and booing as disrespectful and basically just weak. So
that's fair. So we also talked about. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? We talked about the game. It was awesome. We talked about this coming weekend against Tampa Bay. I expect that to be awesome as well.
all pros.
And do we want to talk about anything else before we pop into a quick first round mock? Now that we've got a few more draft slots solidified.
All pros.
All pros. Yeah, let's do that.
So we have 3 first ballot, I'll call it. I don't know. All pro players, right? We have Penei Sewell, no surprise. We have Amon-Ra St. Brown, which kind of was. I think he should be
the second round.
But like, I don't know that if you were a Carolina Panthers fan, if you would be like, I'm sure Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be an all pro, right? Like that's the problem. So like, our first teamers were Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jalen Reeves-Maybin on special teams. So, yeah. So, like, who was on? Okay, so Brandon Ayuk. Can you make that at all bigger, Mike?
Nope,
wrong way. Yeah. So Amon-Ra St. Brown beat out AJ Brown, Puka Nacua, Brandon Ayuk, and Mike Evans to be a first-team All-Pro. Tyreek Hill, who was on pace to break Calvin's record, right? Well, with one more game. Let's be real about that.
And still didn't.
Right. And then CeeDee Lamb, who has played great this season. He's a first-team All-Pro. He's on a rookie deal. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, I'm so thrilled. I don't give a shit about the Pro Bowl. Like, however many fucking Pro Bowls you get, great or whatever. But, like, first team All-Pro is, you're the best of the best. So I think that, like, I think that right now you can say definitively 2023, 2024, Amon-Ra St. Brown's the best slot receiver in the NFL.
I would say so.
Yeah. Now, I know guys like Puka and CeeDee Lamb, they play primarily out of the slot, but Amon-Ra lives there. So, I mean, like, let's be real. And then, of course, you got your second teamers. You got Sam Laporta highlighted. Frank Ragnow's right there. So, I mean, I think that was it, right?
Yeah, so we had Penei Sewell, Laporta, St. Brown.
Ragnow.
Ragnow? Did I just completely look right through him? Oh, yep, on the second team. Second team right there. We had...
And then... That's wrong. That's
right. That is not the right guy.
That's Denver. He's from Denver. But we did have Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Also, shout out to Miles Killebrew in Pittsburgh. He's a former Lion. He's been in Pittsburgh now. I think this is his second year in Pittsburgh. Absolutely killing it for the Steelers. Great job. But yeah, so I mean, you had 5 guys make the All-Pro teams. I mean, that's great. That's just absolutely great. And like tip of the hat to all of them, because they've all played great all season. And like not that fantasy football matters at all, but like I hear that Sam Laporta is going to be tight end number 1 next year in fantasy. I mean, like, it's just an indication of like how often he gets used, like in our offense. So,
Yeah.
Tip of the hat to every All-Pro. That really means a lot to me. I think that it's fantastic that those guys made it. And like, if you want to talk about respect, talk about that. Talk about those Lions earning their way to the very top of their respective positions. That's where the respect is going to come from. So, and winning, of course. Winning will always garner respect because people, I would imagine.
I mean, that's the ultimate goal.
Right. And then having these guys helps that just so much. So anyways, that's all I wanted to bring up was congrats. There's 5 of them. I think that I don't think that there was anybody on the Lions that I would have said could have been an All-Pro over some of these other guys. So I think they got it right. Thrilled.
I can see maybe Hutch.
I don't think so.
I'm a little surprised Hutch didn't, but I'm not. I mean, he's not going to displace either of these guys, and definitely probably not Micah Parsons. I could see maybe him there instead of Crosby. He's about the only. I think the other 3 are just, they're just there. But that would be the.
I would be super surprised if he's ever Garrett or Watt, but like, I think that he can be Crosby.
Yeah,
I don't think that's going to take a couple of years. Okay. So this is an excellent question. I don't know how to answer it, to be honest. So like, the question that immediately comes to mind when we post that question, if I am Amon-Ra St. Brown's agent, this is the same question I'm going to put to the Detroit Lions. How valuable is a slot receiver in the modern NFL? Because it is obvious to me, having watched his entire career thus far, that he is outside of Jared Goff, he is the single most important thing on offense that the Lions have.
Yeah.
End of sentence. So I'm like, if I was his agent, I would say, does your offense, can you do on offense what you want to do without my client? Because I don't think it's a yes. Sam Laporta eases some of those concerns.
Yeah, but he's still just a tight end.
Right. And like, so my question is like, but that's exactly it, Mike. Like, I think you hit the nail on the head. Is like, he's just a tight end. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown just a slot receiver? Because if he's just whatever, then I don't think that you could put him as a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. So like, I think it's an excellent question.
Yeah, when I say just a tight end, I mean in comparison to being a wide receiver.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I knew where you were going.
Yeah.
So if I'm really evaluating A6 question the way that I think it should be evaluated, and I see a guy like this who I don't think that he is necessarily a big play guy, even though he has some big plays. But like, he's not the kind of guy that I just throw the ball up to and pray. Right. But like, if I need an engine for like sustained success, I can't imagine too many guys going. But like, would I take Tyreek Hill before Amon-Ra St. Brown? Yeah. Would I take Puka Nacua before Amon-Ra St. Brown? Maybe.
Well, we get a couple extra years. I mean, they're similar when it comes to their role, and I will say one of the big differences, having watched both guys every game this year, Puka's had some drops. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a black hole. That dude he's dropped like 2 balls the entire season. But they are similarly gifted overall. Amon-Ra's got the experience. Puka Nacua's got the extra years on the rookie contract. So that would be the only thing that I would be like, I don't know, which one would I rather have? But Amon-Ra's proved it, right? Is this a fluke year for Puka Nacua because Kupp was hurt the first 6 games and recovering, or is he the real deal? I think he's the real deal, but you really don't know until, another year or 2 years, right?
So A6 has asked another question. Would I take St. Brown before AJ Brown? Okay, so if we are doing a Madden draft where I'm creating a fictitious team on paper, I'm probably going to take AJ Brown first because I think that he can do more things than what St. Brown can do. I think St. Brown can do what he does better than AJ Brown. This isn't Madden. Okay. So if I am taking a wide receiver that I think fits with what Detroit wants to do, then
That's the key.
I think St. Brown is the pick. If I am starting a franchise, an expansion team, I would take AJ Brown.
I think it comes down to what is the offense you're running and what is the quarterback good at. If your quarterback is good at a West Coast style offense, you take Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Cooper Kupp over those other guys as your first pick because that's the key to that offense. If your offense is going to be greatest show on turf, you're going to take A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb over Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Cooper Kupp. Right? What is your quarterback good at? If it's going to be the long bomb, I would probably take other people, right? But if it's going to be those short, quick passes that you need sure hands for, I think you absolutely, which is exactly what we need, right? That's what our offense is.
Right.
Shorter developing plays, quick passes. We need really tight routes run. I'm going to take Cooper Kupp and Amon-Ra St. Brown over anybody in the league.
So he also says, like, this is real life where character matters. I don't know what that means.
I mean, like,
I don't know what
it's that locker room cancer stuff. Like, do you want...
Has AJ Brown been locker room cancer?
I have no idea. I don't know much about Brown. I'm assuming that's what he's referring to.
So, I mean...
Was it Antonio Brown that kind of went a little...
Antonio Brown is completely actually insane.
Yeah, a little batshit, right? Okay.
Not a little bit. Like, I think that the dude is actually insane. Well, he just called out Hurts. Like, I understand that. So what you're saying is, well, okay. I guess the way that I would say it is, the Eagles just went through what I would call an epic collapse. I mean, real bad. You know, yeah, he didn't quit. So, the Lions have not experienced that yet, right? The Eagles have had success and are now coming down off of success, right? It's a rumor.
Yeah.
So the Lions are ascending and are starting to taste success. So I am not. Did anybody call out Jared Goff when he had that month where he had like 9 turnovers and we dropped a couple games? No, they didn't. Does that mean that Amon-Ra St. Brown is any different than AJ Brown when it comes to what you can do on the field? This has been my point of contention with how the Lions have wanted to add players to their roster the entire time of this new regime, which is that A6 brings up a good point. And like, obviously there is a culture in place led by Dan Campbell in Detroit that is very beneficial. And yet you still have to go out and be on the football field and be better than the people that are out there against you. And like AJ Brown can do that, whether or not he's a bitch. So like, I think that my leeway with that kind of character concern is greater than I think a lot of other Detroit Lions fans. That's my only point. So I didn't care about Jalen Carter's driving fast on the highway nonsense. I don't care about AJ Brown calling out his quarterback. I just don't care. Like, what I care about is he's 6'5" and can run a 4.4. He has hands like dinner plates, and he's an excellent target. Like, that is what I give a shit about when it comes down to it. I'm not paying him tens of millions of dollars. I'm not paying anybody tens of millions of dollars. But, like, I'm not paying AJ Brown tens of millions of dollars to be a super nice dude. I'm paying him to be an absolute fucking monster in the red zone, right? Like, that's what I care about primarily. some of this other stuff would be lovely bonus toppings, dressing up. Excellent. I want to have a good locker room. It's not like I don't want those things. I want to win football games more. So like, and I do think AJ Brown gives any team that he played for, that opportunity. And I don't know if Amon-Ra St. Brown can say the same for any team that he would have played for. I think that he's in the best spot for what he can do with the right quarterback for what he can do, and it's elevating both of their games. And I think because of that, that's why he made an all-pro team. And I'm super happy for him that he did. And I do think that he is somewhere in that 5 to 10 range of all wide receivers in the NFL. But there is a vast difference between what he and AJ Brown can do for any football team. And I think you have to at least acknowledge that. So I guess that's the best way to sum up how I feel about it.
All right, it's a good question. I had a similar discussion with my brother.
Oh, how is your brother?
He's doing well. All right, so before we go to a first round mock, I wanted to quickly give a quick shout out to Aiden Hutchinson. This is Aiden Hutchinson versus Trayvon Walker versus Kayvon Thibodeau. He tied Thib with 11.5 sacks. They were all about the same sacks wise.
Aiden has
look at the pressures. Well, that's true. Well, the others don't get the luxury of the extra games.
That is correct.
All right. But look at those pressures and look at the win rate.
Yeah, and
that is absurd.
So his win rate. Oh, I cannot say that. So his win rate last year was like half of this. It's basically where the other two guys were, or at least Walker is now. And like the thing that is super promising about Hutch to me is that his win rate, oh man.
Just say rate of win.
I'm gonna get it down, man. We're in broadcasting now. I gotta be able to do this. His win rate doubled this year. And like, as you might expect, the amount of his pressures doubled this year. You know, he had, I think, 9.5 sacks his rookie campaign, and he's got 2 more this year. And if he is 100 pressures and 10 sacks a game or 10 sacks a year, I don't know how you could possibly complain about it. You know, that's just great. Now,
well, it's doubling every year.
Well,
next year he's going to have a 42% win rate and 200 pressures. It's going to be absurd.
I mean, if he ends up with 23 sacks next year, I think that's an all-time record for the NFL.
23 sacks, 202 pressures, and a 42% win rate. It's just put him in Canton right now.
I don't think I've ever seen. I mean, maybe we should go back and look at some of like Reggie White's numbers or Aaron Donald, but I don't know that I've ever seen a win rate above 30.
Yeah, I don't know if they had that during the Reggie White years.
You can go back and check.
Donald probably can. Yeah.
So like, however long they've been tracking it, I would be really curious who has the highest win rate amongst pass rushers ever. And I would love to know what that was, because if it's 30, I'd be shocked. I'd be completely shocked. You know, but if Aiden can get that to like 25% next year and like 13 sacks and like 110 pressures, like I think you have to talk about him as a all-pro. But like the all-pro stuff isn't going to come unless you're amongst the leaders in sacks. And the leaders in sacks are somewhere between 17 and 20 sacks a year. Like TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, those guys are. I love Hutch. Those guys are on just a different level. And maybe he gets there. That's my hope. So, but let's do this, Mike. We're already at.
All right, let's do this. All right. So the Bears are on the clock.
Sure.
So I mean, Caleb Williams came out and said, "I am going to I'm declaring for the draft." I think they're sticking with Justin Fields, and I think they're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr.
Can we at least force a trade?
Yes. Who do we think would trade up?
Let's drop this. Let's drop the drop down box here just real quick. Where it says Atlanta, pick 8, hit that drop down box.
That's where I was at.
Yeah, drop.
Oh, is it not showing up?
Correct. Can you see it?
Yeah. Let's try this
Okay,
again.
force a trade between Washington and Chicago.
Washington. All right.
Okay. So this is what I mean. I don't think that the trade will look like this because Washington, you can't trade far enough out. But I think this trade will be number 2 for number 1. You're going to get a 1 next year, and then you're going to get something like 2 or 3 mid-round picks. So let's do this. Give them no, not those kind of mid-round picks. Give them 2 and 40, and then give them around 2 in 2025 as well, and then just force the trade.
Do you think that's what they're going to do?
I think they'll get more.
I feel like New England is more likely to trade up.
Do that then. I mean, the reason I have Washington doing it is it should be the cheapest, and he's from DC. But like, you're correct. Like, I think that New England is sitting at 3rd with 2 quarterbacks. So like, yeah.
But I feel like it'll be something like this.
That's not even what they got for the 1 last year.
Yeah, well, they dropped further though, didn't they?
Yeah. So so this is a great question. So they went from 1 to 7, not 1 to 3.
Right.
But so what is the difference between that compared to Bryce Young and Caleb Williams? Because I think it's like this. Like,
I don't know.
Caleb Williams as a prospect is so far beyond what Bryce Young was as a prospect that I think that like you absolutely are going to have to pay. I think that there's another 1 in there, which we can't put in. I remember they also got DJ Moore, who was effectively a 1.
Yeah.
So remember last year's trade was 1 to 7, first round pick, DJ Moore, I think a 2 and a 3. That was what it was to go from 1 to 7 when Bryce Young was the target. So I'll give you some rebate on the like 1 to 3 thing. But like, and just you got to force it. Because the trade simulator won't accept it.
All right.
Okay, so New England's on the clock, Mike. Do you think they go Caleb Williams?
Oh yeah, I think for sure. That's the only reason why you do that, right?
I agree. This is Drake May to the Ben Johnson-led Commanders. And then
Maybe
I would have Marvin Harrison here. I think this is.
Yep, I think that's So a buddy of mine is a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
And he's like, I would love if Marvin Harrison Jr. would fall to us. I don't think he will, but we need to give Kyler Murray protection. And it sounded like he would much rather go with a tackle.
So I would draft Malik Neighbors here, who the comp that I'm hearing is bigger, faster, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But if your buddy says Joe Alt, that's fine. We can go Joe Alt.
Is he the best tackle or Fashionow?
Well, so I think that Alt can go pass block and run block, and right now I think Fashionow is more of a pass blocker than he is a run blocker. So if you want the more well-rounded tackle, you should go with Alt.
All right, we're going to do that.
This is Neighbors.
The Chargers, the Ben Johnson-led Chargers. The Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers.
Very easily could be. So if it's Harbaugh, I think he'll fall back on what he wanted to do every stop that he's ever been at, which is have good quarterback play, check. Play good defense, run the ball, basically do like the high tenets of how to win football games.
Right.
But like
Bo Schembechler brand.
Basically. I think the Chargers have 4 dudes making over $25 million or close to $25 million next year. And it's Bosa, Mack, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They've lost Austin Eckler to free agency. So I would cut, just to get under the cap, I would cut Mike Williams and Khalil Mack and free up near $50 million in cap room. But he needs someone to throw to.
Right.
So I would draft, if I was them and I was Jim Harbaugh, I would take Malik Neighbors.
Yeah.
And these poor sons of bitches are just tears.
They've already committed to Danny Dimes. I don't see them taking a quarterback here.
No.
I think you give them somebody to throw to.
I like Odunze a lot. I think that would be a fine pick.
Yeah.
This is fashion now.
You think so?
Their line is horrific.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, they have Peter Skoronski and then that guy. Okay. So, we don't know who the head coach of Atlanta is going to be, right? That's going to be one of the big determining factors in what this pick is.
Right.
I'd be shocked if they don't go get a different quarterback.
Jaden Daniels.
So, if they make it to the draft... And I mean, it's either so like, let's say, so the Bears trade would indicate that they're going to keep Justin Fields, right?
Right.
So they didn't win the Field sweepstakes. So I mean, like, I think Jaden Daniels is probably worth the 8th overall pick. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. I think he does a lot of the things that team is built to do right now. I would say yes. So what do you think?
All right.
What would you do if you were the Bears, Mike? You've got Justin Fields.
They already took Marvin Harrison, right?
Marvin Harrison Jr. We're ignoring the QB. We drafted the wide receiver. Center, not going to take one at 9.
Yep.
Defensive lineman, they got Montez Sweat, who played extremely well for them in the second half of the year, and a corner.
I mean, I would guess they go corner.
I think Cooper DeJean is a really good football player.
Yeah.
A really good football player. He can return kicks. He can play all over the secondary. Like, he's a matchup piece. So, like, I think that you would be completely worth the 9th overall pick.
And now the Jets, Jets. The Aaron Rodgers-led Jets, assuming he comes back next year, which I think he will.
He is. He'll come back. He's too big of a narcissist to not come back. So,
I mean, do you try to take a tackle to help protect him? I mean, he's got a couple good young receivers to throw to, but maybe Brock Bowers is like the other piece that they need on that. I don't know.
I think if you ask Aaron, he would want someone to throw the ball to. I think if you're building...
He always does. He bitches every time. You don't ever give me anybody to throw to.
That's right. I think if you're building the Jets the right way, or the way that you're supposed to, you got to draft an O-lineman. But, like, if I've learned anything, it's that this bitch gets whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So, like, I think if Aaron Rodgers is making the pick, it's Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that's my guess as well. Because then you get a little bit of a lineman in that tight end, but also a pass catcher. And you get to keep your prima donna happy. The Vikings, I don't think they need a quarterback. I think they're going to re-sign Kirk Cousins.
Okay, I'll go with that.
So I would not take any running back in this class at number 11 overall.
I don't think you see a running back taking until around 3 in this class.
I could see that. And you're also probably not going to take a guard or a center this early. So you're really looking, and if you're taking a linebacker this early, you're either Brad Holmes or you're wrong, right? So it's going to be either a defensive back or a lineman.
Okay. So I don't know that there is an elite level corner in this class. Wiggins might be the closest one, but he is a zone corner.
Other than like Cooper DeJean?
Yeah, I think Cooper DeJean can just fit in anybody's hip pocket. Like, he can guard tight ends. I think DeJean will end up being a nickel corner.
Yeah.
vis-a-vis Kyle Hamilton, I think is like a good way to
Like
look
a
at
Brian Branch or somebody.
basically, yes.
Yeah.
So I think the right move here is the lineman, but I could be talked out of it depending on, like, say, combine numbers, which we don't have yet.
Yeah. I'm leaning toward that as well. I mean, because look at who we've got in the NFC North, right? We're going to have Jared Goff against a top offensive line, or with a top offensive line. You're going to have Justin Fields, not with a top offensive line, but you're going to be playing them twice. And you've got Jordan Love, decent offensive line. Like, I think you need to put pressure on the young guys in your division, and I think that's where I think a guy like Newton would come in and be a bigger bonus than any of the cornerbacks that are out there.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. Johnny Newton had an absolutely crazy 2 years ago, and he was really good this year. I'm excited to see how he tests. I could also see them drafting somebody like Michael Penix here, but if they decided to go away from Kirk Cousins. So
yeah, I think you can get Kirk on a 1 or a 2 year deal, and you've got Justin Jefferson. I think you've got a fairly tight window of opportunity with that. So I think they go all in on that.
This to me feels like Wiggins or Turner. I would probably try and go Wiggins and pair him across from Patrick Surtain and just be like, okay, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, whoever's the quarterback from the Raiders, like, we have 2 young, good corners. What are you going to do? Like, if this doesn't work, nothing will. So we lost all of our followers.
Yeah.
It's
right.
almost 2 hours in.
Yeah. I think the Raiders just go quarterback here, right? It's that time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to see who QB4 in this class is, because it could be one of like 3 or 4 guys. I think it's fine to say Michael Penix here. I don't have an argument against it. It's just going to depend on what they want.
Do they do the same thing?
If it is, I think you sit him behind Carr for a year.
Who's the best guy to learn behind a guy like that?
I think JJ, if you want a quarterback that can throw on the run, I think you want JJ McCarthy. He needs to add like 15 pounds. He's just so skinny. I think if you want a guy that's played a lot of games and has done multiple different types of offenses, it's Bo Nix. So, like, I don't have a problem with them going Bo Nix here.
Which one will benefit more by sitting behind Carr for a year?
I think McCarthy has the higher ceiling. But
we'll go with McCarthy. The Colts have their quarterback with Anthony Richardson, but they need defensive help. They also need offensive line.
So I don't think when they say offensive line, I don't think they mean tackle. I think they mean interior offensive line.
Yeah, God bless it.
So
I'm driving the struggle bus today.
I understand. I don't think Terry and Arnold would be a bad pick here. The other guy that I had in mind is Brian. He's the wide receiver for LSU. Brian Thomas would be the guy that he's big. You give like, if you want to build a basketball team that plays football with Anthony Richardson as your quarterback, like giving him a 6'4", 220 plus pound wide receiver is something they might lose Michael Pittman to free agency. So, I mean, like, there could very well be a need for turnover there. Mm-hmm. Plus you get a wide receiver and there's this draft is flush with wide receivers. I would probably if I was in charge of the Colts, I would draft Brian Thomas.
All right, let's do it. I think when we do we're going to do one where we trade and all that kind of stuff, like we did last year with Brian and Justin.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to wait until
Seattle.
free agency is largely done. To me, this is Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
I really think Jared Verse is the guy here. I think you start to run on edges. There's not a ton. They've lasted this late. Josh Allen, their edge rusher, is a free agent, although I don't think he'll hit free agency. This Fuaga, I mean, just too good. You can do this one.
They need a cornerback really, really badly. So unfortunately, I'm not a big Alabama fan, but they got the best corner available. They need that bad, really, really bad. I mean, they need offensive line help as well, but I think their secondary is just terrible.
Yeah.
God, there's a lot of Alabama guys.
They're really good. They're a really good team that produces a lot of great talent. So I've thought that the problem in Pittsburgh has been that the fact that their offensive line has not played up to the level that it had in years past when they were an elite AFC team. I honestly think they could take a quarterback, but they're a sneaky Russell Wilson team from what I've heard. And I certainly think that Russell's getting cut. So, we haven't talked about much, but it's an absolute fucking nightmare. So I'll say McKinstry.
The dead money. Money.
It's $85 million over 2 years. So
that's so funny.
I think it's McKinstry. Give him a corner. Latham. No idea. What is the problem in Philly?
Outside of Patricia calling plays,
right?
Their defense was just made a just drop off, and it's not their defensive line; it's their secondary.
Well, that's a real problem.
Linebackers and secondary. So,
well, there's no linebacker in the first round worth taking, and I mean he is the next best corner.
Maybe safe. I don't know who they've got as safeties.
They do need a safety. I think that I like Newbin more than I like Kitchens. But I mean, it's 29th and 30th. I mean, take your pick. I mean, if you want to draft the guy from EU, that's fine.
The real U of M, we'll go with the real U of M.
Stop it. Not when we're champions of the NCAA.
That's fair. That's fair. You get to say that this year.
I do. For a whole year.
For a whole year.
If this was me, I don't like any of those positions for where the way this board fell. I would take Braylon Trice, who I really want to draft as the Lions. He's my pick. He's the guy I want on the Lions. This is
Bo Nix.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
We'd have an Aaron Rodgers situation with Dak. Except I think Dak is less of a prima donna.
Well,
so
they trade. I mean, if we're going to do they're going to get their backup. Remember, they traded for Trey Lance.
It's true.
Center, DL, linebacker. Center. See, I want to give them another corner, but we've only drafted 4 corners. Give them Rakestraw. I mean, that's fine. Running back, tackle, DL, safety. Give them the kid from Minnesota. Oh, yeah, no. That's way better. You're right.
Mims, yeah. Tampa Bay.
Latu. I mean, pass rusher. I would love it if he fell to us.
So the Cards, we picked up a tackle early.
Yep. They're going to be kind of fun to play with because, they might be one of those teams that's we're gonna be movers and shakers in the draft. I like Troy Franklin. I think he's a nice wide receiver, skinny, but nice.
I think I'd go with him. Give Kyler another target to throw to.
Sure. I mean, they're losing people as well.
Yeah.
So,
Kansas City wide receiver, defensive lineman.
Well, there's no D lineman I think worth taking. Yeah, he's about
Another
the
one from the U.
I think that the guy that I would like to see on Kansas City is Lad McConkey. Pair him with Rashee Rice and just see what you have, because I think those two guys would be a lot of fun with Patrick Mahomes. So
Buffalo. Now we're getting into the four that are actually the
Kansas City's still in it.
Yeah, Kansas City's still in it, and then Houston. But they and I guess all four of these here.
Yeah.
So Buffalo, they don't need a quarterback.
Nope.
Tackle, defensive lineman, defensive back, linebacker. I mean, do you just go Morgan?
I think that I like giving them a chance at a tackle more than I do the other positions that have been more heavily picked over so far. Like, they're in a kind of a good position where they can draft and stash. Okay, so this is really
Lions.
terrible because, first of all, I don't know why they have center.
Well, because of Ragnow, and he misses games. He's got the degenerative, condition in his toe. I could see that, but I don't think that's going to be a thing that we would have to pick as a starter. I could see a depth guy.
Sure. So there's no guard worth taking here. There's no center worth taking here.
Running buddy.
I don't.
Or another cornerback.
Well, so if it's a cornerback, I don't want it to be that cornerback. Can you click on corners and we can see who's available? Like the position group? Yeah. So like TJ Tampa is the guy that I think I like the best for what the Lions want to do. But he's gonna be a top of the second round guy. Like, what I would love to do here is trade out for somebody who might want like a Michael Penix or a Bo Nix or somebody if they made it that far. The way that this board fell, though, I do think that Braswell's probably the right guy. Charles Harris is up. Romeo Okwara is up. Julian Okwara is up. Like, they have even if he doesn't start, I think that you need depth at edge.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to re-sign James Houston, and like, let's figure out who's maybe one of these two guys is the other, the tag team partner for Aiden. So, O-line or cornerback, you can give him Lassiter. That's fine. Ravens, he's the deep threat.
Well, I mean, their deep threat right now is Diggs, right?
Nope, that's the Bills.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They have Zay Flowers as a slot, Bateman, who hasn't lived up to his potential, and Beckman, who's on a 1-year deal. So, I mean,
this might be a guy that they'd be going for then.
Scroll down just one more time for me real quick, will you? Yeah, no, it's not getting any better. Oh, give him Keon Coleman. Give me 6'5", 215, jumps out of the building. Yes, please. So, I don't know. I think that's pretty good. Like, why I wanted to do this exercise is that, like, right now we know the order through pick 24. The Lions cannot pick any lower than 25, and their record, even if they fell into that group, the next group, like the divisional round losses, like, their record is going to put them down at the bottom of that respective group because they won 12 games. Green Bay won 9, Tampa Bay won 9. So, like, there are teams still left in the playoffs who didn't win as many games, and they're going to get to pick first. So I think that, and I think you've seen it here, where this draft is strong are tackles, wide receivers, and corners.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a couple of edges, but you got to be in the top 15 or right around there or trade up. And then, like, I don't think there is an elite wide receiver, elite corner in this class. Nate Wiggins is about as close to it, but he's a zone corner, and I don't think the Lions want that on their roster. And then there's like tackles, and like you're set at tackle. So what is available in droves in this class are not aligning with what the Lions need. Like I don't think
we maybe trade up guys.
Trade up, certainly a possibility. So like so like Mike, starting at pick like let's say 24 and above, what is one guy that you would target the Lions to trade up for? Anybody? Because I have one target that I would really like to see.
I can see a guy like Jared Verse or Dallas Turner.
Yep, I think those are excellent targets.
I mean, I wouldn't mind trading up to like get Nate Wiggins. I think you're gonna have to give up too much, so I would try to trade up the least amount to get the best value. So I would say like Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, or potentially like Terrion Arnold.
Mine's a little bit out of left field. I mean, like I would trade up 5 to 10 picks, maybe somewhere in that range, if Jerzon Newton was still on the board. So there are two guys in this class. Newton is one. Tavondre Sweat, or maybe it's Sweet. I think it's Sweat though. From Texas, are the penetrating defensive tackles in the mold of like what Jalen Carter was at Georgia. He was just a lot better at it.
Right.
That I think if you put a lot of pressure has to come from the center, from the middle of the field now, not at the edges. And we drafted Broderick Martin, and we spent all year developing him. He has not played meaningful snaps. That dude's preseason next year is going to need to be really strong. But like, I also don't think that like just because you draft a dude like that, and they're relatively deep at defensive tackle, if you go D tackle in the first round, like say you trade up for Newton, or like Tavondre Sweat is there at 30 for you in this mock, and you go that guy, you have Martin be a backup for McNeil. And then I think what you do is you push Pascal and Kaminsky out to edge. And it's just like, we're huge. Deal with it.
Are they going to be effective at edge, you think?
Well,
are they going to be fast enough?
So like, here's the thing, right? So like, I think that you do bring back James Houston on some kind of deal and give him his 500 snaps a year.
Right.
But like, I think that that mentality, that roster, that D line construction that I just pitched is Hutch is going to create from one side, and we are going to collapse the pocket from the other three positions. And so like people, and I think that like A6 in his very last post here, like an hour and a half ago, was like, he's got to finish. Okay. Well, if you can't find an elite pass rusher to meet Hutch in the middle, then create a wall that is so big that there's nowhere else for the quarterback to go, and Hutch will get there. Or he runs into 600 pounds of human, whoever the quarterback is, and it's like, right, okay, throw out of that. Throw out a 6'8", 360 in your face or whatever, or whatever it is. Do something like that. But like, I don't think that you're going to generate a ton of pass rush with Pascal and Kaminsky, but I do think what you would do is force their offensive line to basically be like, we are exhausted at 5 minutes ago in the second quarter.
Right.
And so like, and I would just try to do that in lieu
just
of
physically overwhelm them.
Basically physically overwhelm them.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how the next round shakes out, who ends up in which draft positions. I'm actually really looking forward to the one where we get a couple guys each taking like the north, the south, that kind of stuff, because I like the ring, the trade time. Those were fun.
I think that this draft class is, the tiers are so plateaued that you're going to have people fall in love with certain guys that they're going to be like, we actually think this guy on our board is this other tier.
Yeah.
And I think that we are going to see a bunch of trades.
I can see that.
Yeah. So, and like, I think that you're probably going to get the first round. I really do think that the Bears are going to trade the first overall pick. I wouldn't if I was the Bears, but like, I do think they will.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's true. So next week, Mike, I think that we're sitting here talking about what's the NFC Championship game going to look like
for the Lions.
Correct. And the question
maybe
that I would
even at home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so that's the question is, if you're going to play for the NFC Championship game, do you want to go to Candlestick Park or whatever the fuck they call that stadium now, or do you and play the Niners on the road, or would you rather play it at home and have the Packers come to Ford Field?
We got 5 folks still sticking around with us, so you guys are awesome. 4 now. Well, one person's less awesome now. But I am curious to see what everybody else is wondering about that same thing. I think Hatter says play Green Bay at home. They're gonna have momentum. They're gonna be just dripping with confidence. But we'll be at home, right? Or are we looking at San Francisco in San Francisco? I think the answer to that will come down to what does that game look like. Was it a really close win in San Francisco by the Niners, or was it a blowout? Because if it's a blowout, I'd rather play Green Bay at home than a Niners team that just blew out somebody that just blew out the Cowboys. Even though the Cowboys always get beaten in playoffs. But I would lean toward Green Bay at home because I just think we've got a better roster. And the home field advantage is, and I can guarantee you that the Rams will say this too, a difference maker.
So just for science, I guess. I'll go the other route.
For science!
I will say I would rather play San Francisco on the road than the way that Green Bay is playing right now at home. And like, I think that the Lions have shown basically all year that like going on the road doesn't really affect them. I mean, they got absolutely handed it to them in Baltimore. Okay. But like, went and beat Kansas City and Arrowhead, played Dallas to a standstill, and the refs fucked us in Dallas. And like the rest of the time, they're beating division winners in their buildings. So I don't know why San Francisco can't be any different than that. Like, I have no faith in Brock Purdy. So like, I think that I would rather. I don't want to play the hot team. And like right now, that's Green Bay. And like, coming into the playoffs, it was the Rams, and we played them. I wish we could play San Francisco at home too. Hey, guess what? You know what would have made that happen if they got in the 1 seed? Hey, you know what would have happened? If we'd beaten Dallas, we would have had it. It would have been fucking cool. And we would have just been able to skip this week. Sam Laporta could have healed all the way up, and we would have played every game from then on out at home. That would have been awesome. I'm not upset at that.
I will say, I think this week needed to happen.
No, I don't.
If anybody's watching is also a Red Wings fan, and they were around in the 90s, we were a juggernaut, right? We made the playoffs 25 straight years, which is a lot of years. And we were, for like 22 of them, we were a top 4 seed. So we were really strong. What ended up happening was in 1995, we went to Stanley Cup Finals. We got beat by the New Jersey Devils. 1996, we set the record for the most points, but we got beat by Colorado. And in 1997, that was the big brawl, March 26, 1997, against Colorado. That was when McCarty and Claude Lemieux went at it. That game turned our team around mentally. We just couldn't get by them. And that was we can beat them, and they were the only thing stopping us. and I do wonder if, not that we could never get by, the Rams or whatever, but I wonder if for Goff, this was his version of what that was for the Red Wings, and that very much propelled us to the Stanley Cup championship in '97. Because we also had to play them in the playoffs, and we took that regular season win, and we're like, you guys aren't our boogeyman anymore. And I do wonder if in a similar way, with Goff's confidence issues coming out of LA, coming here, struggling his first year, struggling half of his second year, and really turning things around, if this was not one of those things that just needed to happen for him to just flip a switch and just keep going and kicking it, like just getting better, not just staying where he was, but like really getting beyond that. So I do wonder if this was just a perfect thing that happened. Yes, I'd love to have the number one seed at home, but I do wonder, I mean, we'll know in a month, right? Whether it mattered or not, but a month from now, I may be like, I said it. That was the thing that did it. His confidence skyrocketed, and we just blew people out. I'd love to say that in a month, but that's kind of where my head is with that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know that Goff can play any better. Whether or not he's more confident, than what he did this last week. So I mean,
yeah, he played outstanding.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, when you were saying that, like, it makes sense, like, and that stuff happens. I just don't know that it's applicable to this version of the Lions team. I mean, I think that Goff is currently confident. I don't think the Lions are afraid of anybody in the NFL. And like, whether it was beating Kansas City in week 1 or winning 12 games this year, or like doing as well on the road as they have, like, I don't think that there's much that this team fears, especially when they know that.
I think this is more about the person. Like for the Red Wings, it was about the team. Like the team couldn't get by them, right? It wasn't just one person. And I think if Goff's chest pass ended up being a fumble 6 and we lose that game, are you telling me you don't think that just completely devastates him and he loses the confidence just like he did in LA? I mean, you don't actually know, but like I very much think that if that would have happened and we lose this game, especially on a turnover caused by him, I think his play drops dramatically, just like it did after losing the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, he dropped dramatically for apparently no reason, like 6 weeks ago for a whole month. So I mean, like,
and he came back, right? He came back from that.
I don't think it's I mean, like, yeah. So I mean, like, what can he come back from?
Well, I mean, the Super Bowl, it took him 3-4 years to come back from that. We don't have that kind of window.
with an admittedly terrible situation in Los Angeles, which he doesn't have here. So
I think he had a great situation there. He had a perennial Super Bowl contender. But his play, his performance,
they traded him.
I understand. That's my point. Like, I think this is one of those things where, like, it proves to himself that he can do this. If we lost because of him, I don't think he would be able to recover. I just don't. Like, the same thing that he didn't recover from his poor play in the Super Bowl. They got across the 50-yard line one time, good enough for a field goal.
Sure.
His play was horrendous, and that crushed his confidence, and everything just went downhill. And I think the opposite just happened. I think it could have happened again had we lost that game, but the opposite happened, and I think his confidence is going to go up. That's all I'm saying.
I don't see it that way. First of all, it's a what if, so it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And the second thing is, like, he's already proven that, like, from a bad situation, he certainly can recover, and like, he's played as well, if not better, this year than he did in his Super Bowl year. So, like, would it take time? I don't know. Like, you're also, I mean, like, if he lost this last game, in the way that you're describing, he has. When did OTA start? I mean, 7 months from no, not
6. Yeah, 6. It's more than that. It's July, isn't it?
He has the better part of he has half a year to like be in the building, go over what happened, have his team rally around him or whatever. Like, I just don't think he's the same guy that he was when he was in LA. And like, from what I've heard him talk, how I've heard him speak, and the way that I've seen him like conduct himself, like, I just don't think that's who Jared Goff is. Do I want him?
I agree.
Yeah. So like,
I mean, I agree he's not the same guy, because if he was, I don't think we win that game.
Yeah. So like, I don't think that Jared Goff is the kind of guy that like at this point in his career, like something's going to happen that's going to shatter his confidence. Like when Carson Wentz got the yips a couple of years ago in Philadelphia and like completely forgot how to play quarterback. Like, I don't think that happens to Jared Goff, which is, I think, the difference in their careers, to be honest. But like, I think what's important to take away from this is that they don't have to concern themselves with that situation. So,
confidence is overflowing. I love it.
Yeah. But like, at what point wasn't the confidence overflowing this year? I mean, that's the thing, is that I think that this is the kind of standard that Campbell sets. Like, this is what makes him a good coach. It's not necessarily the aggression or the play calling or like the game management necessarily. Like, he's fine at all that. But it's about connecting with and getting the players to think and believe that like they are being put in the best position to be successful and to be the best versions of themselves. And that instills confidence in them. Yep. And I think that's what he does. And so like, I just think that no matter what, you're going to see people come through Detroit and it's going to be like, I think that I'm going to be the best version of myself here. And I think that Jared Goff falls in that same bucket. So,
yeah,
the problem is that like, I don't think
leadership and culture.
Yeah. I don't think Jared Goff's best is going to be sufficient to arrive at a Super Bowl victory. I would bet against it, but they're still playing, and so I still have a chance to be wrong. And like,
I hope you're wrong.
If I'm wrong,
you hope you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, I'll be the happiest about that I've ever been being wrong about anything.
Yep.
So
I mean, that was what I said on Sunday. Like, I picked us to lose by 1, and I'm like, I can't tell you how excited or happy I will be if I'm wrong. Like, I want to be wrong so bad. And I'm not going to be upset about it. Like, I'm not going to be upset like, oh man, I was wrong. No, I'll be like, woohoo, I was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So. Like, like hanging over my head forever. Like, I'll live with it by looking up at the banner, like, so.
Hatters picked the opposite. He picked 31-30 us. Close. Off by a touchdown. Both ways.
Yep. Solid take, man. I mean, and like,
yep.
To be honest, like going into the game, you would have expected both of these offenses, I think, to put up more points. I mean,
yeah,
a game in the 20s, I was kind of surprised. So, but anyways, I think that's good enough. Well, we're close to 2.5.
Yeah, it's about 2:15 ish. Yeah.
Well, Mike, hopefully we're back here next Tuesday with another Victory Tuesday.
Those are the best Tuesdays, Drew.
But in the meantime, where can they go?
Well, we've got our Discord, so the link's there. They'll be. I'll try to put the Discord in the show notes. But other than that, hit us up on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell your friends. We're getting close to that triple digits number, so looking forward to hitting triple digits on the subs.
Yeah, I'm hoping by the draft we've got 100 subs.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty sweet. So, and then at some point that's going to snowball, and we're just going to be the most popular show on YouTube. So.
I mean, with that beard and this beautiful face, how could we not?
It's pretty beautiful. So, all right, man.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. We'll catch you next Tuesday for another Victory Tuesday.
Sounds good.
All right, later.